DreamWorks secretly programmed millennials and Gen Z kids to rebel against most traditional social norms, which has led to the most anti-establishment generation we've ever seen.
And here's how they did it.
You're a panda. What are you gonna do, big guy? On me? Don't tempt me.
Bee honey! Our honey is being brazenly stolen on a massive scale! This is worse than anything the bears have done to us!
Cakes have layers.
I don't care!
What everyone likes.
Melman, come on.
So that's it?
What do you mean that's it? What's wrong with me?
That's my fault. Yeah, I'm on it. I'm bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, Megamind, defender of Metro City!
Almost every DreamWorks movie wasn't just a fun kids film. It was a rebellion manifesto in disguise. Shrek was about an ugly ogre rebelling against a classic fairy tale story. It challenges the idea that beauty equals goodness and only attractive people deserve a happy ending. In Shark Tale, Lenny rebels against the shark stereotype. He's a gentle, soft-hearted vegetarian who refuses to be a predator. He goes to extreme lengths to break away from the expectations of his kind, even disguising himself as a dolphin to avoid becoming the fearsome killer shark that they are known to be. Megamind is a full-on rebellion against the classic hero narrative. Instead of rooting for the all-perfect, powerful superhero, we root for the so-called bad guy. Kung Fu Panda rebels against the idea that a great leader, or in this case, the Dragon Warrior, must be fast, powerful, and aggressive like Tai Lung. Instead, we get a goofy, food-loving, slow-moving panda like Po, who is chosen, proving that strength comes from within. In Madagascar, the movie rebels against the idea that animals should be confined to a zoo. Instead of staying behind bars, they break free and experience the wild. It's all about embracing the freedom, breaking out of the expected, and showing that life outside the cage is where the adventure really starts. In the Bee movie, Barry B. Benson rebels against the idea that bees should just work and follow orders. He breaks the rules, questions his purpose, and even sues humans, challenging the status quo, proving that even the smallest of voices can make the biggest impact. In How to Train Your Dragon, Hiccup rebels against the traditional Viking way of life, where dragons are seen as the enemies to be defeated. Instead of following that belief that dragons must be fought, Hiccup chooses to understand them. By befriending Toothless, he shows that challenging old beliefs and embracing new ideas
Can change the world.
Was this all just for entertainment? Or was DreamWorks secretly trying to program us from the start? Just like in life, everything comes with its good, bad, and downright ugly.
Let's break it down.
Don't tell Monkey.
Starting off with the good. Question everything. Norms, ideas, rules, history. We live in an era where it's important and it's encouraged that we question everything. That we don't just follow it blindly. Challenge authority. Because systems are designed to keep us in check instead of helping us to thrive. A lot of these movies taught us that we can break change. We can expose corruption, force change. But it's most important that we understand that this is only done when it's done correctly. What is correctly? We'll get more into that as we go into the bad and the downright ugly. The power of unity and fighting against oppression is real, and DreamWorks may have planted that seed in us from the start. Now let's dive into the bad. Bad habits. We're accepting them more than ever in history. We're not holding those accountable for having
Bad habits.
because if we do, it leads to us being the bully. Too harsh, and nobody wants to be that. Especially to the friend or a family member. How do these bad habits start from watching these movies? We'll get more into that as well as we go on with the list. We enjoy to root for the bad guy. Everybody wants to root for the bad guy now. Joker, Bane, Green Goblin. Everybody loves to root for a good heel. In WWE, a heel is the bad guy. Everybody loves the heel. We got people like Roman Reigns, John Cena after 25 years turning heel. Everybody cheered that on. We love to root for the bad guy. But we do it because it's seen as the cool thing to do, because it's edgy, rebellious. It leads to digging yourself in a deep hole. And examples of these are people saying, hey, free my favorite rapper. Even when this gentleman just committed murder, he's selling drugs to kids. It's still
Free my favorite rapper.
these are not things that you value. It leads you to creating bad habits. You're not holding these rappers to account for their bad habits. You're too scared to say, hey, I don't care how good his music is. He's a thug. Lock him up.
He's He's a thug.
These are bad habits. Rooting for the bad guy. Rooting becomes self-destructive behavior because you try to become one of these. You try to become one of these Jokers, these Banes, these Green Goblins. You try to become this favorite rapper. You think this gives you an excuse to rebel against everything. You decide to rebel against all responsibility. You decide to hold no accountability for anything, not even yourself. And you have a huge lack of discipline. All because you chose to reject structure entirely. Leads to a generation that fears accountability. Instead of choosing to rebel against oppression, you choose to oppress structure entirely. Leads you to having bad habits, then leads to an excuse to have self-destructive behavior. Not a good look. People are afraid to speak. The wrong opinion will lead you to get harassed, canceled, and definitely blacklisted. Leads you to be afraid to speak up. Just like Hiccup, he was hiding Toothless from his tribe. He knew his people would be so against it. He knew it was the so-called wrong opinion. He knew he was going to be canceled. He knew he was going to be harassed. He knew he was going to be blacklisted. People's real thoughts are no longer expressed. Fear. They watch as extreme ideas take over, but they stay silent to avoid being attacked. DreamWorks taught us that true change only happens when people are willing to stand up and speak out, even if the whole world is against them. Which gives me the motivation to get into the downright ugly, because this will get downright ugly. And I will speak what I believe and my thoughts. The downright ugly. Extreme views. A lot of extreme views go against traditional norms, which lead to ideology and propaganda. And not just regular ideology, extreme ideology. Extreme propaganda. Where groups are created to go against one common enemy. Common sense. These groups try to mask their ideological insanity with rebellion behavior, where logic and common sense no longer exist. You're seen as hateful, evil. You get called you know who. You get called thou not say his name. Pretty sure you have a good idea who I'm talking about. But you get called that because you go against their belief. You go against their insanity. You go against their propaganda, their ideology, their extreme views. Take Shark Tale, for example. Lenny isn't just a shark who thinks differently. He rejects his real identity because it doesn't align with how he feels. So what does he do? He disguises himself as a dolphin just so that he can be accepted. And in the end, his father is forced to accept and comply with his son's rejection of reality. This is the exact ideology that we see today, where biological reality is ignored. And now society is pressured to accept delusion as true. I mean, guys, come on. We got men competing in women's sports. This is what happens when a rebellion stops being about freedom and oppression, and it's more of a forced compliance. What started out as a push for individuality, it turned into a demand for blind acceptance. No matter how extreme the views are, you better follow, and you better get along. Yes, it's shown in a kiddish way. Yes, it's shown in a heartfelt way. But trust and believe, the writers of DreamWorks know exactly what they were doing and what they were planning. These guys are grown adults. They know exactly what to say. They know exactly how to create a story. And hey, trust me, I liked it as a kid. One of my favorite movies of all time. I suggest that you do your own research. There's some things that I found that I will not put in this video because I know it will only cause more harm, but do your own research. Find out who founded it, find out the writers, and find out their background. Find out who runs DreamWorks, who's the writers of DreamWorks, what type of programs do they fund. DreamWorks encouraged us to think for ourselves. DreamWorks was telling us to rebel against the system. Some have used it in positive ways, others used it in extreme negative ways. But at the end of the day,
The choice is yours.
you and you only will be the one that decides how to use it.
Subscribe to Kid Diaz or you're a gay lord.